1986, the English Football League proposed an idea.
The blue-ribboned events of the Football League calendar.
An idea that would transform the nation's beloved game.
The efforts of an entire season come down to 90 minutes of football.
One that would keep the footballing audiences hooked. An idea that started off dreadfully, but soon produced the richest game in club football.
£170 million, it's the most valuable game in football.
This is English football's greatest invention. In the 1980s, the biggest clubs in England threatened the Football League with breaking away and forming their own league if they weren't given the TV deals they desired. With hands tied behind their back, the Football League scrambled together a good enough TV deal that satisfied both the league and the country's biggest clubs. Whilst that was all happening, the EFL quietly put together a plan for an end-of-season bonanza that would keep the fans and TV viewers interested deep into May for something other than the FA Cup. In an attempt to rejig the number of clubs in each division, the EFL created a system where the three best teams who weren't promoted and the worst team to not be relegated from the league above would all play in a 4-team end-of-season showdown. Each team had a chance to play at least 4 more games to decide the final spot in England's top 3 divisions. The playoffs had some mixed reviews.
I believe, to be honest, after 46 games, it should be sorted out.
In the first season, you'd have been completely forgiven for forgetting it even took place. All the media attention was on the highly anticipated FA Cup final between Coventry and Spurs, so only a few sentences were given to the playoffs in some newspapers. The media deemed the system as unfair, unjust, and would have long-term ramifications. And those comments were justified with what happened to Oldham Athletic. Under normal circumstances, the Latics would have been promoted automatically, but despite finishing 7 points clear of Leeds in 4th, they had to overcome the Yorkshire side over 2 legs, then play another 2 legs against either Ipswich or Charlton to be officially promoted. They lost to Leeds after extra time. Oldham's manager Joe Royal was understandably upset with how things went down. Swindon Town's boss Lou Macari called for the end of the playoffs. "I never want to go through a night like that again. The playoffs are unfair and should be scrapped." Swindon won their final. However, there were some positives in the early years. Some of the quote-unquote smaller clubs picked up some big scalps in the first 3 years of the playoffs. Aldershot took down both Bolton and Wolverhampton Wanderers in the 4th division. Sunderland lost on away goals to Gillingham after a 6-all draw. Yep, you heard that right, away goals. Leeds lost to Charlton, and Chelsea were relegated after losing to Middlesbrough, which didn't go down too well with Chelsea fans. The original format of having a 2-legged final whilst including a team from the division above, thankfully, was scrapped after 2 years, and the format that was introduced in 1990 is exactly the same as we have today. As the 2010s became the 2020s, the Championship playoff final became dubbed as the richest single game in football, as the winners were guaranteed a share of the Premier League's extraordinary wealth the very next season. As of 2025, over 100 teams have competed in at least one playoff campaign in the 37-year history. You can split these teams into many categories based on their experience in the playoffs. There's your one-and-dones, unbeaten finalists, the I love the playoffs teams, your I'd rather miss the playoffs teams, the you guys reach the final teams, Successive Heartbreaks, and for a very special group of teams, the red and white stripes. As we look through all the teams, I'll be referring to each division as the Championship Leagues 1 and 2 to make things clear. First, the one-and-dones. Hereford, Macclesfield, Salford and Newcastle's only playoff campaign ended as quickly as it began. Newcastle's only semi-finals in the playoffs saw them lose at the hands of arch-rival Sunderland of all teams. The now extinct Rushden and Diamonds lost out in the final to Cheltenham, whilst Wrexham lost in the final to Leyton Orient. Neither of these teams made it to Wembley, however, as Rushden's final was at Cardiff, and Wrexham's came in a 2-legged home and away final in '88. Crawley and Dagenham and Redbridge both dismantled their opponents in the semi-finals before winning promotion to League One at Wembley in their only campaign so far. And the great powerhouse of Manchester City were once here before. Their only campaign saw them come from 2 down against Gillingham to win promotion from the 3rd tier. Yes, the 3rd tier. It was considered one of the greatest finals ever.
They are there. They've completed one small step on their road back to the Premiership.
The last 3 teams all went undefeated in finals. 16 other teams have not tasted defeat here as well. Cambridge and Aldershot's 4th Division playoff final wins came in the old format. Ipswich Town won promotion to the Premier League in their only final against Barnsley in 2000. Stoke and Birmingham City both won their only playoff final at the Millennium Stadium in 2002, with Stoke ending a run of back-to-back semi-final losses, whilst Birmingham ended a run of 3 successive semi-finals to get to the Premier League. Incredibly, both Bournemouth and Wolves won their first playoff finals the very next year, with Wolves getting over the hump on their 4th attempt. Doncaster Rovers and Southampton both beat Leeds United 1-0 on their trips to Wembley. Stevenage's playoff promotion came with double significance. First, the finals at Old Trafford, and secondly, it was their first ever season in the Football League. Nottingham Forest, Morecambe and Fleetwood's only final appearance ended in 1-0 victories, whilst Luton, York and Carlisle's only playoff final win came on penalties. Southend exited League Two at both the Millennium and Wembley Stadium exactly 10 years apart, with the 2015 final having one of the latest goals ever scored in a final, as Joe Pickett netted a 120th minute equaliser against Wickham. Hull City's 2 trips to the final ended in 1-0 victories to send them to the Premier League. Both goals were absolute screamers. AFC Wimbledon are the only team to have gone to 2 playoff campaigns and win them both, another team with 2 clean sheets. Peterborough are 3-for-3 in their finals, 2 coming at the old Wembley against Stockport County and Darlington, and their final promotion came at Old Trafford with a 3-0 romp of Huddersfield Town. And finally, Charlton Athletic have won on all 4 trips to the playoff final. 1 was actually to stay in the league after a replay, 2 came against Sunderland, 1 on penalties for promotion to the Premier League in what is still considered the greatest playoff final ever, and the other came in a last-minute winner to take them into the Championship. Their final promotion came last season with a 1-0 victory against Leyton Orient. We can class Charlton Athletic as one of those teams that just loves the playoffs whenever it comes around. Their South London rivals Crystal Palace would have you believe it's their favourite way of getting into the top flight. Of Palace's 7 second-tier playoff campaigns, the Eagles have won 4 of them, coming against Blackburn, Sheffield United, West Ham, and most recently Watford. West Ham United and Burnley have both won 2/3 of their playoff campaigns, with the Hammers winning promotion a year after losing in the final, and Burnley's 2 wins coming 15 years apart from each other. Swindon Town have reached the final in 5 of their 8 playoff campaigns, winning 3 of them. But they're the only team to have ever won a playoff final and been denied promotion. This happened in 1990 against Sunderland, when Swindon were found to be making illegal payments to their players, forcing them to stay in the Championship. Huddersfield Town love a playoff campaign, and they love doing it in the hardest ways possible. The Terriers incredibly have twice made it to the final whilst drawing both their semi-final games in 1995 and 2017. They thrice won the final on penalties, where in 2012, the Terriers somehow won the shootout despite missing their first 3 spot kicks. Moving on to their 2017 promotion, Huddersfield unfathomably won promotion to the Premier League without a single one of their players scoring a goal in regular time. Huddersfield are one of 2 teams to have won the playoffs in all 3 divisions of the Football League. The other one is undoubtedly the playoffs' most successful team.
They are taking over Wembley again, and the club which rose to the top could be rising again.
Nine campaigns, 1 semi-final defeat, 2 final defeats, 6 promotions. It's fair to say that the Tangerines know a thing or two about navigating the playoffs. However, it didn't start well. Their first trip came back in '91. They beat Scunthorpe in the semis and met Torquay United in the final. The game was a stalemate that needed penalties to decide the match. Torquay's goalkeeper converted,
Beats his opposite number.
but not Blackpool's top goal scorer.
Bamber, oh! Dreadfully wide.
The very next year, Blackpool returned to the final. This time it was against Scunthorpe. Once again, the game went the distance. This time, it was Scunthorpe who missed the decisive penalty, giving Blackpool their first playoff victory. 4 years later, Blackpool had a chance to move into the second tier for the first time in 17 years. They won the first leg at Bradford City 2-0, but in a cruel twist of fate, Bradford City rocked up to Bloomfield Road and won 3-0. When they returned back to the basement in 2000, they blew Hartlepool away in the semis before defeating Leyton Orient in the final, their first at the Millennium Stadium. In 2007 it was League One again. Oldham Athletic were brushed aside before Yeovil Town were defeated in the final. Blackpool's first at the new Wembley and their first from the third tier. It took just 3 whole years before Blackpool embarked on their first ever Championship playoff campaign. They snuck in at the last moments due to a Swansea City choke job. They then beat Nottingham Forest in another playoff classic, winning a thriller 6-4 on aggregate with the help of a DJ Campbell hat-trick. Then Charlie Adam, Gary Taylor-Fletcher and Brett Ormerod scored the goals to defeat Cardiff in the final for a promotion to the Premier League. Their second ever loss in the final came 2 years later when they lost the Championship playoff final to West Ham. Despite the fans boycotting games due to their horrendous ownership, they still found a way to win promotion out of League Two. Then, when football returned after lockdown, Blackpool defeated Lincoln in the lowest attended League One playoff final ever. That was a glimpse of teams who've absolutely loved competing in the playoffs. Now, we go to the teams who'd rather forfeit the entire thing. Salford City, Macclesfield Town and Hereford failed to reach the final in their one and only campaigns. Salford still have the opportunity to right their wrongs. The other two, well, they no longer exist. Accrington Stanley and Forest Green Rovers have had 2 bites of the cherry without making it to the final. Oldham Athletic have failed to reach it in 3 attempts. Looks like they still haven't recovered from being denied promotion in 1987. All 3 of Barnet's semi-final defeats came in the League Two playoffs, and all came to the eventual winners. Portsmouth are 0 for 4 in playoff semi-finals, spreading across all 3 divisions. Portsmouth have not won a single one of their 8 playoff matches. And last but not least, Milton Keynes Dons. 2007 League 2, 2-1 to Shrewsbury. 2009 League 1, penalty shootout loss to Scunthorpe. 2011 League 1, 4-3 to Peterborough. 2012 League 1, 2-1 to Huddersfield Town. 2022 League 1, 2-1 to Wickham. So far, every playoff semi-final loss has been close, until Crawley dropped 8 on their head tops. The next 2 teams were 1 campaign away from being on this list. Bury was so close to one-upping MK Dons. The Shakers have had 6 semi-final defeats, just like MK, but were able to make the League Two final in '95, where they lost to Chesterfield. Ipswich Town take the cake when it comes to semi-final defeats. 7 in total, 1 to fierce rivals Norwich, back-to-back defeats to West Ham, and 3 defeats in a row from 96 to 99 against Sheffield United, Charlton and Bolton. They did, however, win promotion on the 4th consecutive attempt against Barnsley in 2000. With those 3 defeats in a row for Ipswich, they join a number of teams who've experienced successive heartbreaks. We briefly looked at Ipswich's 3 straight semi-final defeats in the Championship, but did you know Newport County lost successive League Two playoff finals either side of the abandoned COVID season, losing 1-0 on both occasions in the 107th and 119th minutes? Or how about just before that, with Exeter City? They lost to Blackpool and Coventry in the 2017 and 2018 League Two finals. In fact, they returned 2 years later and were thumped 4-0 by Northampton in an empty Wembley Stadium. We saw that Birmingham City won on their only appearance in the final, but did you know it was their 4th consecutive attempt just like Ipswich? They were beaten by Watford, Barnsley and Preston. Then, spare a thought for Tranmere Rovers. They were in their best period in their history, having 2 promotions in 3 years in the early 90s. Now the Premier League has just formed and it's Tranmere's turn to join in. 4th place in 93, beaten by Swindon Town in the semi-finals. 5th in 94, beaten by Leicester City in the semi-finals. 5th again in 95, lost to Reading in the semi-finals. They've not come anywhere close since. Hartlepool, oh Hartlepool, Hartlepool, Hartlepool. It's the early 2000s and Hartlepool have struggled in the basement division for most of the 90s, but now it's their time to shine in the playoffs. The year 2000, blown out by rivals Darlington. 2001, blown out by Blackpool. 2002, lost on penalties to Cheltenham. They finally won promotion in 2003, automatically, but momentum continues into the League One playoffs. 2004, they hold a 2-1 lead in the second leg against Bristol City with just 3 minutes left of normal time to go. Then this happened.
Of stoppage time. Christian Roberts is through!
2005, Hartlepool finally made the playoff final in expense of our favourite semi-final losers Tranmere, despite Hartlepool almost self-destructing again. They meet Sheffield Wednesday in the final in what is possibly the biggest mismatch in recent years. In a back-and-forth game, they hold a 2-1 lead over Wednesday, then Hartlepool give away a penalty and the man is sent off. They collapsed in extra time. Hartlepool were relegated the very next season. Lincoln City are the only side in the Football League history to go to 5 straight playoff campaigns. In 2003 League 2 final, they were slapped up by Bournemouth at the Millennium Stadium. Lost 4-3 to Huddersfield in the 2004 semi-finals, lost to Southend 2-0 in the 2005 final, 2006 saw Grimsby dump them out of the semi-finals, and 2007 finished at the semi-final stage with a 7-4 aggregate loss to Bristol Rovers. Let's move on to some more teams who've had terrible times in the playoffs. Bristol City haven't won a playoff campaign in 6 attempts, losing 2 finals 1-0. Reading and Leeds United also haven't won it in 6 attempts, with both teams losing 4 finals. Reading were cruelly denied automatic promotion to the Premier League in '95, whilst Leeds United still haven't scored in a one-off final. West Brom, Middlesbrough and Brighton are all 1 from 5. Cardiff, Stockport and Torquay are all 1 from 6. Derby County have only won once in 8 attempts. Millwall, Sunderland, Bolton and Swansea are all 2 from 8. Scunthorpe United are 2 from 9. Every time Leyton Orient are in the playoffs, they make it straight to the finals. Unfortunately, their only win came in the 1989 two-legged final, meaning that the O's are 0-4 in finals in the current format, losing at all 3 stadiums. They're also one of 9 unlucky teams to have been relegated the season after losing the playoff final. When you mention the word playoffs to fans of these next 3 teams, they shudder intensely. The Lily Whites had an almighty struggle to get out of Leagues 1 and 2, losing to Port Vale, Bury and Gillingham in the semi-finals and Wickham in the League 2 final at the Old Wembley. But it was the Championship where the pain of the playoffs started to become unbearable. In 2001, a double promotion was in touching distance for Preston, but were defeated by Sam Allardyce's Bolton. It wasn't until 2005 where they'd have another shot at the Premier League, but in Cardiff, they fell to a Bobby Zamora winner against West Ham. The very next year, they were knocked out in the semi-finals to Leeds United. 4 years later, another Yorkshire team buried them in the semi-finals. A shock relegation to League 1 was followed by another playoff semi-final defeat to a Yorkshire side, making it 9 failures in a row, the most by any team up until this point. But Preston North End finally exercised their playoff demons when in 2015, a Jermaine Beckford hat-trick fired them to a 4-0 win over Swindon, their last playoff campaign to date. Preston North End have just 1 playoff promotion from 10 attempts. I mentioned Preston once held the record for 9 playoff campaigns in a row without promotion. In 2020, the record will be matched. Five wins in the final 6 matches of the season propelled Brentford from mid-table to League 1 playoffs in 1991. It didn't matter though. Second place in League 1 would guarantee you promotion in about 90% of all seasons in history, not 1995 though. Brentford get drawn a team they've not beaten all season, and there's the semi-final defeat. 1997 saw Brentford reach a final for the first time. Congratulations, Crewe Alexandra. Miss out on automatic promotion by a single point after failing to beat the team directly above you on the final day. Get revenge on Huddersfield in the semi-finals. Lose to Stoke City and Cardiff. 2005, we already spoke about who reached that final. Produced one of English football's greatest choke jobs in 2006, to then lose to Swansea in the semis. Bear in mind, that's 6 straight League 1 playoff campaigns without promotion. Miss out on automatic promotion after failing to beat the team directly above you on the final day. Where have I heard that before? Beat Swindon in the semi-finals to get to the new Wembley for the first time. Lose to Yeovil Town 2-1. Brentford finally exit League 1 automatically and immediately enter the Championship playoff finals the first time ever, but ran into a roadblock named Middlesbrough. 2020, the only Championship playoff final to take place in August, and the first ever London Derby final. 2-1 to Fulham after extra time. 9 in a row, 7 in League 1 and 2 in the Championship. But just like Preston, Brentford had the last laugh, defeating Swansea in the final a year later to finally reach the Premier League. 9 losses in a row from Preston and Brentford is an extraordinary stretch to say the least. However, in 2022, another team went and matched that record. That team then broke it in 2025. That team plays the same colours as Brentford, entered to the stage for worst performing playoff team in history. One of the few teams to have ever been relegated through the playoffs in the old format in '87, 10 years later the Blades were trying to get back to the Premier League, but David Hopkin had other ideas.
David Hopkin looking at
A year later, they squandered a 2-1 lead against Sunderland. In 2003, they won a thrilling second leg against Nottingham Forest to reach the Championship final in Cardiff, where they were duly ganged up on by a pack of wolves, 3-0. They returned to the Championship playoff final in 2009, where they lost 1-0 to Burnley. I make that 3 finals, no goals scored. Sheffield United found themselves in League One in 2011, where they'd experienced 5 traumatic seasons. 2012, an 85th minute winner saw them scrape past Stevenage to meet Huddersfield Town in the final. A poor game that went to penalties saw Huddersfield give Sheffield United 3 chances to gain an advantage, but United missed 2 of their own. It eventually went to the keepers.
In Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed!
2013 saw them blow a first leg lead to Yeovil, and in 2015 they needed to overturn a 2-1 deficit to Swindon Town, but decided to concede 3 inside 18 minutes at the county ground, a game that ended in a 5-all draw, the highest scoring semi-final match in playoff history. In 2022, another Championship semi-final defeat came at the hands of Nottingham Forest, when a Morgan Gibbs-White penalty became the 3rd one saved by Bryce Samba in a shootout. Fast forward 3 years, this time Sheffield United breezed past Bristol City to reach another Championship playoff final against Sunderland, a team the Blades finished 14 points ahead of at the end of the season. They held the lead for 50 minutes of football before Mayendra equalised for the Maccamas. As the game headed for extra time, Kiefer Moore lost the ball in the midfield, then it fell for Tom Watson.
It falls the way of Watson. Oh! And what a passing gift that is!
Sheffield United are now 0-10. And for the teams with red and white stripes, between Stoke, Lincoln, Sunderland, Brentford and Sheffield United, there were 39 trips to the playoffs, and only 4 were successful. Pure jubilation for the winners, agonising for the defeated, and no 2 clubs share this contrast of emotions than Blackpool and Sheffield United. As of the 2025 finals, the playoffs attendance total was broken for the first time in 17 years, as over 200,000 people attended Wembley across the 3 finals. The creation of the playoffs were a risk, but it definitely paid off.